Hello there, it's ehMac.ca and we're doing a video review today on the Elgato eyetv HD. It's a full-featured digital video recorder for HD cable and satellite TV for your Mac. So we'll quickly go through the unboxing of the product, and it's important to point out that the Elgato eyetv HD, it's both the hardware as you see there and the software, which is Elgato's eyetv3 software, which works really good in tandem, and also comes with all the necessary cables, and I'll take you through those as well too. So the first cable I'll point out that's included is the infrared remote channel changer cable, aka the IR blaster, and that's for automatic control. That's actually going to control your set-top box either from like Rogers or Bell in my area. There's the USB cable to plug the hardware into your Mac, and this little guy here, it plugs into the AV port if you are using standard definition video. We'll talk about that more later. There's the actual hardware, and that's where you'd plug that little breakout box for standard definition, but there's the ports for HD, and we'll go over that in a bit more detail. There's eyetv software and the setup guide. Here is the picture of the setup guide, which I'm a big fan of. It's very easy to understand. So here's the back of my Rogers cable box, and here's that little breakout cable I was talking about if you want to use standard definition sources, which we plug into that AV port right here. So that cable would plug in that end, and on the other end you have regular composite video with your yellow video and stereo left and right, or if you have an S-video source, you would plug it into there. So we're going to be using HD video and using component video cables, your standard green, red and blue cables. So they plug into the back of the Elgato HD hardware. Just match up the colors there, and then we zoom over into the back of our Rogers cable box, and you find the necessary component ports there, and again plug in the green, blue and red cables and match those up. Now we take the red and white stereo left and right cables and plug those into the Elgato HD hardware, and then you take the same end, and there's the stereo left and right on the Rogers cable box. Next we're going to plug in the IR blaster, which goes into the back of the Elgato HD hardware in the appropriate port there. And again, this is going to be used to actually control our Rogers cable box. We're going to position that right in front where normally you'd use your remote. Then there's the little mini USB plugs into the back, and that's going to go directly into our Mac. So here you see it in place, my Rogers Cisco Explorer 8642 HD cable box, and that's where the IR blaster goes, right in front of the sensor there. So my Elgato HD hardware, the USB 2 cables coming out of that and going into my MacBook Pro, and then from my MacBook Pro I have the DVI video signal. I have a DVI to HDMI cable which is going out into the back of my receiver, and then I can then see the image on my Panasonic TV. Up next we install the software. So you just click and drag the icon to your applications folder, and it takes a second to install, and then once that's installed you find it in your apps folder and double click to launch, and it takes us through the setup assistant, which we'll go through. So because I already had the hardware connected, I was surprised that as soon as I started the assistant, a video window actually came up and immediately video was playing on my Mac. So we'll just click the next button and agree to the license agreement here. Yes, we agree. Next it will ask us to select a country that we're in, and you can see all the available countries, and I'm like Canadian A, so I'll pick Canada, and then we'll click next. Then it asks us to confirm the hardware you have connected, which is the eyetv HD, so we'll click next. Then the software activation key, and click next. There's our nice little illustration setup guide again. Next we set up a TV Guide program guide, which comes free for a year with the Elgato TV, which is the program guide that works for me in Canada. There's a few other program guides that work in a few other countries, but you basically create an account and it says yes, it's created. We'll click next to go on to the next screen here, and then it asks us to create an account with an eyetv, an actual account, which comes in handy later for other things like using the iPhone with it. From the video source, we'll click next, and then just double check that you have the audio cables plugged in correctly, and then that you have the mini USB port plugged into your Mac. Here's where we configure our set-top box, whether you've got a box from some of the Canadian providers like Rogers or Bell, and what video source you have in. So Based on my postal code, it knows my available options: Bell ExpressView, Shaw Direct, and I'm on Grand Riviera Rogers cable. So I will select that one and then click OK. And then it just downloads a little bit of information about the channels available. So here's where we set some of the parameters for the IR blaster to work with the various sort of cable and satellite boxes. A little illustration here just to confirm that we've got the cable plugged in correctly. And then you select what type of box the manufacturer is. So you see the extensive list they have here for the various television, satellite, and cable providers. There's a pretty big list. Although my cable box is technically a Cisco one, I think Rogers uses a variety, so they just have one option here for Rogers, and that seems to work. So then it's going to take us through a little test to make sure that the IR channel changer is actually working. In a minute you'll see a picture-in-picture of both my screen and my actual receiver, and it will ask you to turn the receiver off first and just confirm that the IR blaster can turn it on. So it's turned off here, and I will click begin test, and you can see in the right hand side it actually is controlling my cable box just like if I were controlling the remote and turning the system on. So by clicking the test there, it did confirm that that is indeed working, and we'll say yes, it works, and we'll go on to the next step. On the next screen here we have some parameters that we can set, whether we have to put 1 or 2 zeros before the numerals that we press in, or whether you need an OK before or after you type in the numbers. And then there's another test here to confirm that it can actually change the channel. So if you click this pop-up menu, you'll see that it knows for my setup here all the available Rogers channels that I have. So I'm just going to pick one channel here, and then we'll run the test. In a moment you'll see the picture-in-picture again of the actual receiver in the corner. So there it is. So I'll click test, and what it's actually going to do, it's just like I'm using my remote control to actually change the channel on the TV, and the test works successfully, and there's the new channel. So finally we can register our software with Elgato. So I can just type in my information, my fictitious information there, and click registration. And that's it. We've successfully configured and set it up.